I'm not giving up.
I am selling the building.
The final season of FX's The Bear.
The restaurant is flooded.
Everything's either going to be okay.
No, stop!
Or not.
We are outgunned and we are outmanned, but we have each other.
FX's The Bear, the final season. All episodes now streaming on Disney+.
This episode is brought to you by Workday. Workday is the enterprise AI platform for HR, finance, and IT with a deep understanding of your organization's context and guardrails, giving you accuracy to not just get work done, but get it done right. It's a new Workday.
Well, as a matter of fact, James, I used to accept the traditional view of history. And in fact, I was about to write a book on that theme. And so I began my own research independently, and over 30 countries or more, I began to collect information that I thought would be of interest, and I began to find things that I didn't expect, whether it be South America or Asia or Europe, Africa, wherever. There came up anomalies, things that, as you mentioned, shouldn't exist. I saw an out-of-place artifact here, an out-of-place piece of knowledge here, and they just didn't fit our traditional view of history. So I just pushed them aside because I couldn't include them. They just didn't make sense. But then so many of them began to surface, and I thought, well, wait a minute, what's happening here? There shouldn't be all these things that don't fit our view of history. And so I just stopped the project I was doing. I began looking to see if these were just one or two, or whether there were more of them. And eventually hundreds and thousands of these began to surface. And this to me was just so compelling. I could not carry on with the traditional view of history. I had to really see why these other things were here. What caused them? How come we've forgotten about them? And a pattern began to develop that if something was found, like ever-burning lights were found in South America, it wasn't just South America, it was Asia, Africa, and Europe and other places. And then I began to look at machinery, all ancient medical knowledge, and various subjects began to present themselves until there was so much evidence on each one of them that this required a book of a different nature, totally. And this was the origin of the book Dead Men's Secrets. And this actually took out about 1,000, just over 1,000 of these ancient anomalies. We couldn't just put them all in because it would just be too big. But that's enough to present a strong, solid case that there was a global pattern which was the same worldwide on all continents for ancient knowledge of, it doesn't matter what sphere you go to, the knowledge was there, and a lot of it was put into practice. Well, of course, when I see a mystery, when I see something that can't be explained, I have an insatiable desire to get to the bottom of it. I guess like a detective, when he sees things happening that shouldn't be happening, he stops everything and he goes on the trail to see how it happened, where it happened, why it happened, who was involved, and so on. And this is how cases are developed by detectives. Now, in archaeology, the same thing exists. We see things that we didn't expect to happen. So, okay, why did they happen? Who did them? Where did they happen? If they got covered up, who did the covering up? Why are we seeing so much opposition to the findings of these things? And this opens up a real can of worms in some directions. So it includes everything. It includes the ancient knowledge. It includes modern suppression. It includes fact and fiction. And I want the facts, not the fiction. I want the answers, not the questions. Each question must be answered. And that's my nature, actually, to find the answers to things. And if I can't find the answer, then I will not stop until either the answer is not available or else the answer is there. And in most cases, you find the answer if you keep going. I would say that today the attempts to cover up and destroy evidence is what gets me passionate about it, because there are big institutions of learning and I'm going to name one, the Smithsonian in the United States.
Oh, yeah.
Has at least a dozen large museums scattered across the country. And the founder of the Smithsonian actually was an honest man who was so excited about the past that he just wanted to gather all the physical evidence he could and present it to the public just as it was, and let it go where it has to go, and not with any theories behind it, but if something is found, we'll just put it there. And he was a very honourable man, and he built up a great reputation for the Smithsonian as a wonderful institution of learning and of displaying that learning to the public. But this later on was hijacked by a group of men who had an agenda. And they then said, okay, we want to prove our point to the public, and to do so we will invent things if we have to, and we'll destroy other things that go against it if we have to. Mm-hmm. And this is now the sad story of such a wonderful institution that has gone bad. When I find something, in the back of my mind always is, how am I going to share this? Half of the joy of finding something is when you know that there are going to be lots of people out there whose lives are going to be helped, and they're going to be excited, they're going to enjoy the knowledge, and I guess I get more joy out of sharing it with others than of just keeping it to myself. You just keep something to yourself, and well, what's it worth? But when you find that other people get their answers, well, this makes it all worthwhile to me. I can go to bed at night saying, okay, I've done some good in the world today. And I should mention that I produced 2 books on the big dating blunder, which is persistent around the world. Our traditional dating methods are just like the traditional history. They're both outdated and they're both wrong. Mm. So the dating has to be revised according to evidence. Now, the greatest evidence that we have is not from dating of artefacts by carbon dating. Carbon dating is only reliable up to 3,500 years. And that is actually testified by the man who gained a Nobel Prize for his carbon dating discovery. He said you cannot go back with certainty beyond the first dynasty of Egypt. So that's about 4,000 years.
Wow.
Now, likewise, all of the radiometric dating systems are dependent upon certain assumptions, and those assumptions have now been falsified. And yet the books all go back and say, so 40,000 years ago, the Aborigines were in Australia, and 100,000 years ago, this person was doing this in Africa, and so on. I now am prepared to declare, without fear of being successfully contradicted, that all those datings are nonsense. The furthest we can go back is correctly stated by Libby, who was involved in the carbon dating, and he said that you cannot go back with certainty beyond the first dynasty of Egypt. Anything else is speculation. Human records only go back about that far too, a little bit further. And when you go to human records, you have eyewitness reports, and that's much more reliable than something that we guess at by something that is not sustainable as far as scientific dating is concerned. Now, as far as a master civilization, a worldwide civilization goes, there's very good evidence from 12 independent dating methods now that don't rely upon radiometric dating, which all agree that there was a worldwide wipeout in the year 2345 BC, which went on for about 12 months and ended 2344 BC. And after that, we have the civilizations of Sumeria, China, Egypt, Indus Valley, and so on, and the American civilizations rising. These are all since that date. And that can be proved beyond any reasonable doubt. Then after this, these civilizations actually were germinated from by the descendants of the survivors of that worldwide civilization that was wiped out.
I'm not giving up.
I am selling the building.
Only love.
the final season of FX's The Bear.
The restaurant is flooded.
Everything's either going to be okay.
Or not.
We are outgunned and we are outmanned, but we have each other.
FX's The Bear, the final season. All episodes now streaming on Disney+.
This episode is brought to you by Workday. Guessing is for game shows, not your business, especially when your margin for error is zero. Workday is the enterprise AI platform for HR, finance, and IT, with a deep understanding of your organization's context and guardrails. So every AI action is permission aware, giving you accuracy 24/7 and the ability to not just get work done, but get it done right. It's a new Workday.
And they echoed in their accomplishments many of the accomplishments of the pre-disaster world, the original world. However, because of man-made wars, including nuclear war, yes, in the past, and natural disasters, natural and man-made disasters, destroyed these post-flood civilizations. Those that were not directly destroyed gradually went down. Let me put it this way.
Mhm.
If the civilizations of Europe and the United States were destroyed today, the rest of the world, their civilization would go down. Because it is the leaders of civilization that have the greatest technology, who are the ones that keep the whole world civilization level higher. But if you take away the major players, the rest of them who are not experienced to the same extent, that they will deteriorate as time goes by. And so Egypt went down. Egypt wasn't wiped out. It just went down. And the same with all the surviving civilizations that weren't destroyed by man-made and nuclear disaster and natural disaster. So the surviving civilizations that were not destroyed deteriorated over time, and that's been the history of the human race. And today we're up again. We're just rediscovering what was lost. As an outside force would be necessary to tilt the Earth's axis, and there's evidence that this took place at that time. And an ice comet is a very good possibility as a flyby, not necessarily hitting the Earth, but as a flyby, and the tilting of the Earth's axis from an outside force such as that would have produced tremendous strain and friction within the crust of the Earth. And this would have caused huge cracks. Like we've got the Great African Rift, for example, as an example, or one of those. Great cracks to form in the surface of the Earth, and huge amount of volcanic magma and also water pouring out from the heart of the Earth onto the surface, and collapsing also a protective canopy that did exist around the Earth at the time, such as exists around Venus now. And this was collapsed at the same time. So water came down, water came from underneath, and volcanic eruptions, of course, do produce an enormous amount of water. Mount Etna in Italy, just one single volcano produced 1/4 of a cubic mile of water in a month.
Isn't there
when you have 30,000 volcanoes doing this, you've got a worldwide disaster, a water-load disaster from above, from below, and from the Earth itself. They certainly did. And this was like a shield which protected the Earth from harmful cosmic rays. It would let in the healthful benefit rays from the sun, those of that frequency, but it kept out the dangerous ones, which was wonderfully. The Earth was beautifully balanced. And when the underground water basins erupted through the cracks that had appeared in the crust as a result of the tilting of the Earth, and the whole Earth was shaken, the force, the pressure of that pent-up water went miles into the sky and penetrated and perforated the protective canopy, and this collapsed over about a 6-week period, and then the flood continued right through the year. But this was huge. It was enormous. It was not just an ordinary rising of water. Continent and seas were all churned up together. Everything was topsy-turvy. forests went down, cities were destroyed, everything became lost and destroyed. And this is big. And it's the most widespread racial memory of mankind. There are 600 legends around the world in all languages,
Sure.
600 of them which all agree as to this great disaster. Stonehenge actually was used for that purpose, and was just one of many, many places all over the world actually that had a similar shape and purpose. But Stonehenge is about the best preserved in the world. It gives us a lot of clues. Certainly, if just suppose our cities were destroyed today.
Mm.
Now, 1,000 years time, archaeologists come along, and they see the growth of nature has come and choked the ruins and the remains. And by the way, if an atomic blast destroyed all our major cities, it would leave behind ruins, and these ruins, like railway lines, for example, would eventually decay and just be rust blowing in the wind, so that those railway lines would disappear. Our motor cars, our television sets, our computers, our hair dryers, whatever you like, things made of plastic and iron and whatever, would deteriorate and then become nothing, and they would not even survive a destroyed civilization. The only material, and even the skyscrapers would no longer exist. They could not survive it, because the only material that can survive a dead civilization is stone. And stone, suppose the archaeologists came into the middle of London, they would probably see nothing much. But when they went into the suburbs, they would see stone axes and things like that, and or any parts of buildings in London or anywhere, Dublin, anywhere you like, that would be partly of stone. The stone would remain, and everything else would be gone. The glass, the plastic, the steel, everything would be gone. It would deteriorate. That's how nature deals with these things. But stone survives. And we would look in as an archaeologist and say, here were some Stone Age people. They worked in stone. That's all they had. Now, of course, the survivors would go bush. Now, the survivors may have the knowledge. You might have a computer technician, and you might have a building construction worker, and so on. All these people would say, okay, we know what we used to do, but we've haven't got much now to work with, so we'll work with what's easy, and that will be stone as well, stone and wood. And Stonehenge, of course, is a good example of that. And, of course, stone does, especially stone with crystals in it, does attract electricity and can be used for different things. It was very appropriate that Stonehenge was made the way it was at that time.
For sure.
It's totally unnecessary. The reason for it is this, that today, with the history the way it is taught in the controlled system, is that man was dumb in the past. For millions and millions of years, he was ascending from a brute beast with no intelligence and no ability. And then suddenly, just a few thousand years ago, we find him with the highest technology, able to fly and talk across the earth and do all sorts of things. And this seems impossible, that after millions of years of very slow, almost no progress, suddenly we find him at the top, not at the bottom. Just suddenly, all of a sudden. And so naturally, because the evolution theory cannot explain such an apparent anomaly in its theory, where can we go? Oh, yes, there must have been an outer space technology that came and was brought to Earth, and that was brought to the ape-like creatures, and suddenly they became modern men. That's the theory. But you don't need to go off this planet for intelligence. Well, let me put it this way. If evolution cannot occur on this planet, and therefore it can't explain the sudden technology burst just a few thousand years ago, all you're doing is you're removing the problem to another planet. And so now you have to explain it. If evolution can't do it here, then evolution couldn't do it there. So how on earth did they get it? Oh, maybe another civilization brought them their one. Now, where's the end to this? It's a theory that doesn't make sense. And it makes more sense to realize that according to the laws of genetics, the laws of genetics today tell us that we do not increase information into our DNA. All we do is we use the DNA information that has been handed on to us by our ancestors. Evolution cannot produce information. No way. That's scientifically so, and any geneticist will agree with that. So, by extrapolation, this means that in the beginning, man always had that information. And this, of course, is what we're told in the biblical writings, that man was always intelligent. Our ancestors, going all the way back to the beginning, have always been intelligent. What brings civilizations down is man-made or natural disasters, and we're responsible for a lot of those.
Wow.
And so the extraterrestrial theory is unnecessary. Not only is it unnecessary, but it doesn't fit with the genetic evidence. Well, what about, if you count it as an artefact, we have tunnels, great tunnels that have been built in the past several thousand years ago, tunnel systems that go for hundreds of miles on every continent. And not only that, but they're smooth, glassy surfaces as though they were cut by a laser beam. There's no rubble outside the entrances from which all the stuff dug out of the tunnels could be put. It looks like the tunnels were melted into place, and some kind of machinery, maybe laser machinery, was used to just zoom into the ground below the surface of the ground and just keep on tunneling and tunneling and tunneling. All of that rubble that came out was not put anywhere. It's just like it vanished. And the tunnel systems were very sophisticated in their construction, and they go for hundreds of miles. And you can go down into some of them. I've been down into 3 of them, and with my wife. And you can have doors shut behind you automatically. And as you approach some tunnels, lights just come on suddenly. And as you go past a certain area, the lights go off behind you. This shows very sophisticated construction techniques. Why don't we look at the big stone blocks? Now, the largest stone blocks ever have now been found just recently, actually, and of all places, up in Russia. The largest stone megalithic ruins in Russia, the largest blocks of stone ever discovered. Now, the location of these is Mount Shuria down in southern Siberia. Yeah. And some of the gigantic granite stones are estimated to weigh each stone more than 3,000 tons. 3,000 tons per stone. Okay. Now, the largest stone found at the megalithic ruins at Baalbek in Lebanon, which are very famous now, the largest stone there is 1,500 tons. So how in the world did someone cut 3,000-ton stones with extreme precision, transport them up the side of a mountain, and stack them 130 feet high above the ground into buildings? We do not have any cranes or combination of cranes that can handle such heavy weights today, nor do we have means to transport them. No train in the world would be capable of transporting such heavy stones. The wheels would be crushed on the rails.
I know, Doctor.
This is a task which they did, but we can't. Yes, there are some ancient. Now this is a toss-up between different things. Over also in Russia, actually, have been found what appears to be the remains of ancient electronics. We've got little devices that are being found which are definitely human.
I'm not giving up.
I am selling the building.
The final season of FX's The Bear.
The restaurant is flooded.
Everything's either going to be okay.
No, stop.
Or not.
We are outgunned and we are outmanned, but we have each other.
FX's The Bear. the final season. All episodes now streaming on Disney+.
This episode is brought to you by Workday. Guessing is for game shows, not your business, especially when your margin for error is zero. Workday is the enterprise AI platform for HR, finance, and IT, with a deep understanding of your organization's context and guardrails. So every AI action is permission aware, giving you accuracy 24/7 and the ability to not just get work done, but get it done right. It's a new Workday.
Yeah, definitely human, of human construction.
Wow.
And some of them can only be seen in their detail under a microscope. And these have been studied by the University of Leningrad and Helsinki and various other places and declared to be human made. They've been found by gold miners actually digging down way under the ground, and they're coming up and sifting stuff. They found these, and they actually are a spiral in shape, a series of spirals like a coil,
Mm-hmm.
and so small that they're like little pieces you put in computers to make computers work. Datings, of course, are not reliable, as I mentioned,
Sure.
but putting it into the focus of the timing of the world disaster, and I mentioned that there were 12 ways of confirming and reconfirming and cross-checking the date. It's a one big date that is pretty securely fixed now. This would mean that in the last 4,500 years, these would have had to be made, and very likely in the earlier part of the 4.5, around about 2000 BC is my estimate, simply based upon the fact that the most reliable event in history to be dated is that great disaster now.
Sure.
But and that's been done independently by scientists in different countries. So I'd say around about 2000, give or take a few hundred years either side, 2000 BC down to 1000 BC in that period. And Mercury, of course, was spoken about in some of the ancient writings of different countries as being a fuel source that could be used in air transport. This civilization, I do believe, was global, worldwide. Whenever we see evidence, for example, of Mercury, we see it in where you mentioned, we see it in various other parts of the world, and then where we don't see it physically, we see in little capsules, we see it written about. And this would go for ever-burning lights, for various medical procedures, for various construction methods, and types of machinery and so on, that there was a similarity, and the similarity is a bit like today. We have similar shaped computers today, no matter whether you're in Ireland or New Zealand or Japan. There's a sharing worldwide, and this looks to have been the practice back there in the past as well. Well, archaeology should not be ignoring it. It's interesting. If you're taking Sumeria, for example, there are historians and archaeologists who use words like astonishing or extraordinary, a flame which blazed up so suddenly, the astonishingly short period with which it arose. There's one fellow, I think it's Joseph Campbell, he said, with astonishing abruptness there appears in this little Sumerian mud garden the whole cultural syndrome that since constituted the germinal unit of all the great civilizations of the world. So what we've got here is a civilization in Sumeria that came out of nowhere. The earth was turned to mud. Out of that mud came a high civilization at the top, not at the bottom. And then you could look at Egypt. Just take a look at Egypt. Egypt sprang up into existence suddenly, fully developed. That is, without transition from a primitive state, with a fantastic, ready-made high society. And look at the few examples maybe we can think of. Great cities, enormous temples, pyramids of overwhelming size, colossal statues with tremendous expressive power, luxurious tombs, and great streets flanked with magnificent sculptures, perfect drainage systems, a ready-made writing already perfected, a well-established naming system in which the pharaohs had as many as 5 names at the very start, and society already divided into specialist classes, civil service, army, everything minutely organised, and courts exhibiting all the indications of a well-defined precedence and form. So it seems that in the remotest period of which there are records, Egypt shows a level of civilization that's inexplicable, unless it came as a result of knowledge that had been preserved when the world civilization before it was wiped out. It's interesting that Egypt and Samaria and the Indus Valley and these others all came up around the same time, all of them at the top. Not one of them had to evolve upward. Oh, yes. I can't remember the figure, and I'd like to be pardoned if I give the wrong figure, but in my mind it's something like about 10,000 examples of ancient giants in North America had been destroyed. A wholesale destruction of giant remains was destroyed. And I could go into some specific stories on this, but I also made a claim from information that I had that the Smithsonian actually hired a ship, loaded it with artefacts that disagreed with its theory, and told the captain and his team dump these artefacts in a deep part of the Caribbean Sea. And the ship went out and it dumped a whole shipload of artefacts. Now, these artefacts were the result of years and years of work by lots and lots of archaeologists. But that didn't matter to the people in the Smithsonian. They said, dump it all and then come back empty. Don't bring them back. Now, I made that claim actually on air some time ago, and I had emails from people. One of them was a man who said, I was a crewman on that boat. This actually did happen. Another man said, I was a tugboat captain. And he said, I can give you, I've kept actually a manifest. He said, if you're interested, then I can supply it when I get back to home sometime. And I can give name and date and address and location and name of the tugboat company. This is all very genuine. The Smithsonian did dump a whole boat full of artefacts to get rid of them. All right. I'm going to open up and throw a cat among the pigeons here, but I have to speak the truth. You've asked me, and I've got to be straight about it. In 1859, Charles Darwin put out his theory. Mm-hmm. Now, a lot of Christian people had been hypocritical in their ways. They were preaching, but they weren't living the life, and this turned off Darwin. His father actually was an Anglican vicar, I understand, or worked in the church anyway. And because people looked at you've got Christianity as Jesus Christ gave it, and he is known as a perfect example of how all people who call themselves Christians ought to live, and that's the kind of thing. It's a life, not a religion. And yet others have made it into religion where you can preach and pray and do what you like during the week. Doesn't matter what you do wrong. Now, Darwin was turned off by that, and so he just veered away. He went to the other extreme. He wanted to disprove that there was a God, and so he wanted to show that everything had come on its own. And so he produced what we now know as Darwinian evolution. Mm-hmm. And the Smithsonian hijackers actually were espousing that theory, and they were determined not to give anything at all that would prove the biblical view of history true, but rather the evolutionary Darwinian theory true. And so if you go to their museums today, you'll find made-up statues that have never existed in real life, but they show... they start at the ape and they finish up with an upright man, and all the in-between things are made up, trying to show that there have been no missing links, everything's in place, when that's not so at all. Mm. And today, if you go into a university, I was just speaking with a university professor, he said if you go into the university and you try to talk about everything being beautifully designed and created, and man being intelligent in the past, you will not get you'll be sacked. If you're a professor and you start saying that, you'll be sacked. Or you'll be, with all the grants for your research will be withdrawn, and your name may be vilified, because they can't stand anything that will oppose the Darwinian evolution theory. And this is the problem. It's a very hot seat. It's a very emotional issue for lots of people. And their livelihood, their reputations, they've been preaching it for years, and suddenly somebody comes along and says, hey, wait a minute, these artefacts prove that's not so. And so they say, out with you, we don't want to talk about it. And the stranglehold on of the evolutionary theory upon the present education system is a scandal. That's the reason why. They're set, and they're going to try to stifle opposition. Now, let me tell you about a girl called Lisa from New Zealand here. She was travelling the world, and she was, of course, trying to get little jobs here and there in every country that she was visiting as a tourist. And she ended up in, I think it was the New Mexico State Park area, and she was given a job. And each day they were excavating in an area there in that parkland, and they came across these huge skeletons, about 12 feet long. And immediately the boss of the operation said, well, now, you must not take any pictures. You must not bring your cameras into your work. You must not let anybody outside know what you're working on. In fact, they began searching them as they came in and searching them as they went out every day. And eventually they called in one of the scientific institutions, and they brought in the army. They brought in soldiers.
I'm not giving up.
I am selling the building.
The final season of FX's The Bear.
The restaurant is flooded.
Everything's either going to be okay.
No, stop.
Or not.
We are outgunned and we are outmanned, but we have each other.
FX's The Bear, the final season. All episodes now streaming on Disney+.
This episode is brought to you by Workday. Guessing is for game shows, not your business, especially when your margin for error is zero. Workday is the enterprise AI platform for HR, finance, and IT, with a deep understanding of your organization's context and guardrails. So every AI action is permission aware, giving you accuracy 24/7 and the ability to not just get work done, but get it done right. It's a new Workday.
And they confiscated all these things, and the whole place was closed down. So there were people involved in the whole chain of commands and different categories that got involved, and somebody in there said, okay, we've got to close this down. And Lisa had a lot of trouble leaving the USA. She was questioned so much because it was on her record that she had been there. I know a man over in Queensland, Val Osborne. Now, he was an amateur archaeologist, and he was up in the North Queensland area in Sarina. Sarina's a little sugar country town where they grow a lot of sugar around there. And on the coastline, he began to find things that really interested him. He began to find the remains of an old harbour, shipping harbour, and the wharves and slag areas and tombs and parts of houses and statues and inscriptions were Phoenician, from the Phoenicians, from the Middle East.
Wow.
And so he worked for 20 years documenting this photographically and in other ways. Then he went to the Sarina Shire Council, who was like the local government authority, and they started collecting the evidence, hoping that this could become a tourist attraction. Then he was encouraged to go to the media, the Australian Broadcasting Corporation, and he went on television on the 6 o'clock news, which is prime time that everybody across the country watches. And he told about his discovery. Immediately, it was either the South Queensland University or the Central, I think it was the South Queensland University, said to one of their staff, and they gave him $10,000 as an incentive. They said, you go up there, stay there for a few days, then come back and we'll take you to the media and you're going to say that there's nothing up there, that you've investigated it and that this man is not reporting truly. So this person was interviewed on television the following week, and he was introduced on television as an archaeologist, when in reality he was only an art teacher. And as a result of that, Val Osborne was discredited on the ABC. Everything that he had said was wiped under the carpet. Well, actually, what you say, James, is quite correct. In fact, about keeping their trade routes secret, there is on record the fact that when the ships went out through the Pillars of Hercules, which is the Gibraltar Strait, and they were coming up to Britain, they saw a foreign ship, I think it was a Roman ship or some ship from another country following them. And so the captain said to them, we have to scuttle our ship so that they will not know our destination. It's better to lose the ship than to lose the trade.
Wow.
They did. Oh, well, one of the most interesting finds actually is a find in the Red Sea, in the Gulf of Aqaba, in which I've personally been involved and had teams of scientists with us. And as a matter of fact, I have an artefact from it only about 1 yard away from where I'm sitting as I talk to you, James, right now in my office here. Now, in the book of Exodus, we have the story of Moses, and I know Hollywood made a great movie, The Ten Commandments, of this, starring Charlton Heston and Yul Brynner. And the Exodus story says that the Hebrew slaves were in Egypt, and Moses was commissioned to lead them out of Egypt to freedom, and they were pursued by the Egyptian army. And Josephus, the historian, says that in the Egyptian army there were 250,000 footmen plus hundreds of chariots, probably thousands of charioteers, all armed to bring back the fleeing Hebrew slaves. Now, the slaves came down, according to the description given in that book. They went through an area surrounded by mountains, and they eventually came to a large flat beach by the sea. And both sides, the mountains, north and south of there, the mountains came down and would block their route north or south, and so they could only go east, and eastward was the sea. Behind them was the canyon they'd come out of, and Pharaoh's army came along in through that canyon behind them, and they were trapped. I'm just wondering whether that's the origin of the expression between the devil and the deep blue sea. Anyway, the story, as we all know, goes that the sea was miraculously opened and they escaped across. And when Pharaoh's army came across after them, the sea came back, and the Pharaoh, including Pharaoh himself, actually was drowned. If this was so, we should find on the bottom of the seabed there the remains of chariot parts and chariot wheels and skeletal parts of horses and men. A fellow that I went out to disprove, but eventually ended up proving him correct, claimed that he'd found chariot parts down there. So I took my own expeditions down, and we went down, and quite a number of times actually, and I had some of the world's best divers on my team, but from Britain and from Israel. And we found the remains of parts of horses, chariot wheels, chariot cabs, axles, and so on. And I have part of a chariot wheel right here sitting beside me. Scattered all over the seabed, everything mixed up. And precisely as the book of Exodus says, this is exactly what we found. Yes, we do. I do believe we do. And the problem with civilizations that were wiped out by mankind is that they had retained their intellectual ability, but they had lost their spiritual direction. And when you have the knowledge of nuclear physics, for example, that can be used for the benefit of mankind, or it can be used for man's destruction. And because the human morals had gone down and didn't match any longer the intellectual ability, a disaster came. Our spiritual awareness, our spiritual standing must be kept healthy, the same as everything else, body and mind.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where today our modern society is failing. The spiritual is being neglected or considered not to be important. Okay, very interesting subject. The Ark of the Covenant, actually, our primary source of information for the Ark of the Covenant is the Bible. And it's reliable because it's eyewitness testimony as to the construction of who actually oversaw the construction, the description of the material. It was made of acacia wood, which is a wood of the desert of Arabia, which was coated in gold. And it was a box. Ark in the Old Hebrew means two things. It can mean a boat, which it did in Noah's Ark time, or it can mean a box. In both cases, it means a container. And this was a box, an oblong box. And the word covenant referred to the Ten Commandments. Now, when the Ten Commandments were written on tables of stone, they were to be placed inside the Ark of the Covenant. And it was a spiritual artifact, probably the most valuable artifact that's ever been constructed, but had a spiritual message in it. Moses was told that this actually was a symbol of the flow of the universe, from which the Creator rules the universe. And that when he constructed this and put it in the tabernacle in the desert there, and when later on it went into Solomon's temple when that was built, that this was to be a symbol of man's problem and God's answer. We have all violated the spiritual laws of the universe, and which are written and summarized in the Ten Commandments. If you use those Ten Commandments, our national laws are based upon the laws of Ireland and Britain and France and Germany and New Zealand and Australia and America are all based on those Ten Commandments. They're the basis of our civilization. And they were placed inside the ark, inside the box, as a symbol that this is the divine law for the universe, and we've broken it. We've all violated it. And we can't help ourselves, because cutting ourselves off from the life giver means that we die. And his answer, the Creator's answer, is that he wants us to live. And there can be redemption. There can be rescue from death. And so someone would have to take our place. May I illustrate this by what an Indonesian judge did the other day from an email I got from Indonesia. A woman had stolen. She'd broken the law. And she was hauled before the judge and fined a huge amount of money for stealing. And she broke down and said, "Look, I'm a poor widow. All I was doing was stealing food for my children." He said, "Well, you go to prison. But who's going to look after my children?" He said, "Well, I can't do that. I can't help you. That the law says that this must be paid."
I'm not giving up.
I am selling the building.
The final season of FX's The Bear.
The restaurant is flooded.
Everything's either going to be okay.
No, stop.
Or not.
We are outgunned and we are outmanned, but we have each other.
FX's The Bear, the final season. All episodes now streaming on Disney+.
This episode is brought to you by Workday. Guessing is for game shows, not your business, especially when your margin for error is zero. Workday is the enterprise AI platform for HR, finance, and IT, with a deep understanding of your organization's context and guardrails. So every AI action is permission aware, giving you accuracy 24/7 and the ability to not just get work done, but get it done right. It's a new Workday.
However, what he did then, he threw off his robe, He stepped off the podium. He went down to her, opened his wallet, gave her the fine, and then said, now come and find me the fine. He got back up there, and as judge, he put on his judge's gown. She paid the fine, and she went free. And according to the Bible, that's what the Creator would do for us. He could pay the fine. He represents the law. He would come down. He would suffer. He'd take our penalty and die. But rising again, he would offer us rescue beyond the grave, so that we could eventually live forever. Now, that's what the Ark of the Covenant was teaching, because once a year, the high priest would go in there, he'd sprinkle the blood of an animal sacrifice, which was a prophecy of the sacrifice of the coming Messiah, and he would put it on the mercy seat over the Ten Commandments, and everyone was forgiven. Now, it's in Jerusalem. It's still there. I know there have been reports of it going down to Ethiopia, to Rome, to Britain, to other places, but they are if anything has gone out, it's copies. The original is still in Jerusalem, under the streets of Jerusalem, about 270 in a cave, about 270 feet north of the Damascus Gate in the old city, and about 20 feet under the ground. And I guess that Thomas Edison put it rather nicely when Thomas Edison was involved in inventing of the electric light bulb, ultimately. And what Thomas Edison said was this. He said, the old inventions have been reinvented. Wow. He gave no credit to himself. He simply said, we're just rediscovering what was lost. Yeah. And we've rediscovered many, many things from the past, and we're redoing them, perhaps not in the same way. For example, lights are not produced in the same way that they were produced in the ancient, but the result was the same, electric light at night. And until it was destroyed and the civilizations went down. Now, I don't know necessarily whether it's such a good idea to say that our primary aim ought to be to restore everything that was lost technologically. I think our primary aim ought to be that we survive as a civilization and that we make this world a better place to live in. Sure. And that, in other words, our spiritual nature must be restored, not necessarily our technology, because it's how we live together and how we acknowledge, first of all, our Creator, and that gives us value for every human being, because if they're created and they're not accidents that can be wiped out, there are people who want to wipe out most of the population so they can enjoy themselves more, and you know that. That if we think of our Creator as being someone who loves us and cares for us, and therefore we should love and care for each other because we're all valuable, then we'll have a much better lifestyle in our families and in our societies and in our nations. Oh, yes. We do need to see this change, absolutely. And we'll all be better off if we do. What? Well, the internet is a wonderful invention and very precious to all of us, I'm sure. I'm not sure that we're going to survive. There's another world war coming, and all the system is wiped out. Whether we mightn't go back to living in a more primitive style, but whatever it is, I do think that we've got to focus on the best of each for each other, and we could avoid being wiped out. But of course, you know, human nature hasn't changed, and the world is not better. And as far as war and pain and death and hatred and revenge and jealousy and so on, our world is a lot worse than it was 10 years ago. It's not getting better, and this is the problem. We need every one of us individually to look at our own lives. And I think if every person in the world, 7 billion people, did that, what a beautiful world we'd have. Yes, you've hit the nail on the head. Thank you for having me. It's been a great pleasure. Enjoyed it.
I'm not giving up.
I am selling the building.
The final season of FX's The Bear.
The restaurant is flooded.
Everything's either going to be okay.
No, stop!
Or not.
We are outgunned and we are outmanned, but we have each other.
FX's The Bear, the final season. All episodes now streaming on Disney+.
The 2-week pay period, invented in 1938 and still making us wait until daily pay, where everyone can access their money on demand. This is the future of pay. Learn more at dailypay.com. Transfer fee may apply.
Be with you.